Hello everyone, the news about the sun is starting to grow. This is not that much empty news. Because since the beginning of this year, the sun has moved significantly. There were significant solar flares in February and March, but we haven't seen any negative impact yet. On the other hand, there are people who talk as if these explosions were happening for the first time. There's going to be an explosion in the sun soon. They say this explosion is going to destroy the world, and they're trying to scare people. How the sun explodes? Before I answer the question, I'd like to roughly tell you about our sun. What's the sun? Our sun is a star. Like trillions of stars in the universe, it's a star. Our sun is a G-class native language star. A yellow dwarf team is about 4.6 billion years old. Like other stars, our sun is a very active star. Billions of nuclear fusions take place at its center every second. As a result of this fusion, a terrible amount of energy is released. But of course, this energy can't leave the sun so easily. A very large part of this energy is crushed under the gravity of the sun. It remains in it. Some become a line in the electromagnetic energy outside. Our sun is like a dynamo, like a giant electric generator. It produces a terrible amount of electromagnetic energy, and a very large part of it is on its surface. There are very strong electromagnetic fields on the surface of the sun, which keep a very large part of the energy released by the sun on its surface inside. These electromagnetic fields are constantly reconstituted. The place changes. Sometimes it weakens, sometimes it gets very strong. For example, when electromagnetic fields become very strong, those black spots form on the sun. They're not black spots. They see it that way because it's less hot than other regions. Very strong electromagnetic fields sometimes cool down because the energy is prevented from coming out. That's why we see these stains. Other than that, sometimes we see massive explosions on the surface of the sun. You see, the sun doesn't explode, it's just that sometimes there's a little blister on its surface. That's because of those electromagnetic fields. These electromagnetic fields are sometimes interrupted for reasons we don't know about, or intersect and collide with other electromagnetic fields. When this event occurs, a very large amount of energy is emitted from the surface of the sun towards space. That's what we call a solar flare. It's the spread of energy into space, and you don't have to worry. Solar flares haven't started this year, you've got sun. There have been these explosions since day one, and our world has been subjected to them for billions of years. So should we be afraid of explosions? He should be afraid in a way. Because solar flares emit very high amounts of radiation. Gamma rays, X-rays, particles. Under normal circumstances, when you're exposed to these explosions, you're really gone. But we don't have to be too afraid of that in the world. Because we have a very important shield that protects our world from these explosions. Our magnetosphere. You know, magma is at the center of the world. An extremely hot magma. Here's a molten rock and metal. It acts as a serious dynamo because the Earth is solidly pure metal. The Earth's core continuously generates electrical energy and electromagnetic energy, like a dynamo, for the motion it floats in that liquid matter, which creates that electromagnetic shield around our planet called the magnetosphere. This shield has two missions, first to make the compasses point north, and the second to protect the planet against these massive bursts of energy from the sun and even from outer space. That's because of the dangerous energy emitted by solar flares or solar winds, dangerous radiation rays, etc. our magnetosphere and atmosphere, which falls to the surface in a very minimal way, and nothing happens to us. You can ask if there's any evidence of that. There's a great visual proof of that. There are those famous auroras in the Arctic. Those very interesting colors in the sky, those very interesting colored dances, the weird dances. These are the particles from the sun that are formed by the magnetosphere. This wind interacts with the atmosphere as it passes through the poles, causing those interesting beautiful images to form there. Ultimately, thanks to our magnetosphere, solar flares don't have to be afraid, but sometimes solar flares can become much more violent and dangerous than they are. They are always explosions in the sun, but in some cases, for reasons we know or don't know, these explosions start to increase. It's getting too violent. You're right to be afraid when there are such violent explosions. Because such powerful explosions are seriously straining our magnetosphere because of the energy they emit, causing our magnetosphere to become a little unstable. Well, there's no danger to us humans living on the surface, but you know there are hundreds or even thousands of moons around our planet. We use it for communication. We use it for navigation, we use it for military purposes. Sometimes these solar flares are so intense that they keep these satellites from working. Sometimes even make these players inoperable. Sometimes even more powerful explosions can cause damage to the world's electrical grid communication networks. But like I said, it's temporary. They're just making some of the luxuries of our civilization useless for a while. But in general, we don't have to be afraid of solar flares. So is there nothing to be afraid of? Don't you really have to be afraid of solar flares? I'd like to say yes very clearly, but I can't say that. Oh, I'm sorry. Because as a result of some historical research, we have discovered that some solar flares cause serious damage to the Earth as a result of some paleontological girls. At some point in ancient times, strong solar activity has actually caused some negative things to happen on our planet, and it's said to be. Since this happened in the past, there is no guarantee that it will not happen in the future. So even if it's a very, very small chance, these activities of the sun could be life-threatening for us. But we're not seeing that kind of danger right now. So solar flares are not what we expected. We know that the sun becomes very active at certain times. So everything you expect to happen right now is going the way it's supposed to. But of course we don't know what the future holds. So if we get this together, the solar flares are moving the way they're supposed to. Don't panic. There doesn't seem to be a problem at the moment. There may be some minor problems with satellite communications in the coming months, which will continue to happen. Maybe there's fluctuations in communication, maybe there's fluctuations in the power lines, but where we're standing, no one's going to burn. If there's anything unusual about the sun, don't worry. I'm sure I'll be sharing this with you via video from here, but that's it for today. Have a nice day.